Hello and welcome to the first Making Lean Fly podcast. And in this first one, we've got two special guests with us. And the subject is what lean means to me. The reason we've chosen that subject is that lean means many things to many people. And in this episode, I've got two industry leading lean leaders, Anthony Howarth and Edwin Vandenberg, to talk about what lean means to them, how it's impacted them personally and professionally, and what the vision is for the future. So I'd like to welcome you, Anthony. Good to have you on the show.
Thanks, Philip. Happy to be here.
And Edwin, nice to have you on the show as well.
Thanks, Philip. Thanks for having me.
Great. So if we could start, we'll jump straight into it, and I'd like to get a brief introduction from each of you. So Edwin, can I ask you to go first?
Absolutely. So my name is Edwin Vandenberg. I'm with GKN Aerospace for a little under 3 years now, and I'm in the Lean Center of Excellence, leading the Lean Academy. That's where we hold the body of knowledge with everything that's to do around the Lean operating model deployment, and we have a great team of professionals doing Six Sigma problem solving, expert problem solving that's required when deploying Lean in many different areas in our beautiful company.
Thank you, Edwin. And Anthony, could I ask you to?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm Anthony Howarth. I'm the global Lean leader. I've been in GKN Aerospace for just over 3 years, and I head up the global regional Lean expert team from a functional perspective. And really, it's my job to actively deploy the Lean operating model, engaging everybody in the organization in delivering fantastic results that contribute to the future of the company. Prior to GKN Aerospace, I spent 10.5 years in Philips in Lean and continuous improvement roles in different businesses, functions and geographies. And prior to that, I was 8.5 years in Honeywell, where I spent time in manufacturing engineering, Lean, continuous improvement and advanced manufacturing engineering. And prior to that, I was in the aerospace industry, where I started out as a shop floor trainee as an apprentice engineer before working through positions of increasing responsibility through team leader, group leader, area manager type roles. So it's great to be back in the aerospace industry and looking forward to what we can achieve with the Lean operating model deployment.
Brilliant. So, two great professionals here with, as I've described them, two industry leading Lean leaders who really understand what Lean means. So looking forward to you sharing a little bit of that with us. So, but let's get to know you a bit more. So we've talked about the industrial or the professional sides of you. Anthony, I believe you've got a very interesting personal interest. So could you tell us a little bit about that, and if there's any overlap with what you do professionally?
Yeah, thanks, Philip. So in my personal life, I like anything with an engine and horsepower. Whether it be Land Rovers, classic tractors, chainsaws, anything of that nature. I kind of started in the fast lane with motorbikes and fast cars, and then progressed through trucks and pickups, and now I'm into classic Land Rovers and classic tractors. So I've currently got a 1967 Massey Ferguson 135 tractor that keeps me busy, and I guess the connection with what I do today is really around 5S and TPM, trying to keep the tractor in fantastic condition, both aesthetically and mechanically. I do some charity work with it and take it to classic tractor shows. So yeah, that's what I like to do in my spare time. And in addition to that, I love to travel, spending a lot of time in different countries. I connect that with another hobby of mine, which is photography. So yeah, quite a varied background, really.
Great. And I know we make a bit of fun out of you about tractor driving, but I do think it's pretty fantastic hobby that you have, and it must be great fun. And I think also, Edwin, you do something. We're talking about making lean fly, but I think you have a hobby that helps to make pigs fly, don't you?
Yeah, I guess that's true. One of my hobbies that I've picked up recently is I brew my own beer. I do so in the garage, and that's obviously a lot of fun. There's a lot of experimentation going on there. We do need to have a better grip on our standard work when we talk about lean, but as you can imagine, it is something of a people magnet. I brew the beer together with my next door neighbor, and very often we end up with the result in a glass in the backyard, with many people joining us in and giving us good feedback around how we can improve the process. So that's really good. Some of my other hobbies include water. As a typical Dutchie, I like to do ice skating, but unfortunately the climate's changing, so I get less and less opportunity for that. And that means that very often I stick my nose under the water. I love diving, and every opportunity that I get, I do so. But my main time spent with my hobby of water is I have a saltwater tank, a reef tank in my home. I grow corals from the Great Barrier Reef in my living room, as I tell people. There's a lot to say about having standard work around that. And in the past, I've done some pretty standardized problem solving when the corals were bleaching, even to the extent that I've used that as an example when I train problem solving for the company that I work for. So yeah, that ties lean and my personal interests together in many different aspects as well.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I definitely need to try your hobby out at some point, Edwin. The beer making one, that is, not the.
Well, you're more than welcome.
So let's change gears a little bit. So, how would you describe lean to someone who's never heard of it? Maybe Edwin, you give that a go.
Um, I actually encounter that situation every now and then when people ask me what I do for a living, and then very often people have a view of what lean could be, but I bring it down to two very simple things. I basically say whatever we do, we want to have a standard approach for that is predictable in terms of the quality that we deliver and the outcome that it brings in terms of timing and for the customer and filling the customer's needs. Standardization is an extremely important thing within a lean environment to ensure that you're predictable. And if you don't have a standard, then basically what we're saying is we have a problem, or if your standard doesn't deliver what it's supposed to be delivering, then obviously you have a problem too. So the second aspect around lean is all about problem solving. There's many different ways of doing that, but to me, that's essentially two things that make for a lean environment. You can standardize what you do to guarantee a proper outcome of whatever it is that you deliver. And if that doesn't happen, there's an opportunity to improve, and you use problem-solving techniques.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks, Edwin. I think that's a pretty good description of it. So, Anthony, I'd like to ask you, what do you think are the most common misconceptions about lean?
Yeah, I think the misconceptions are really around, what lean is. Initially, people might think that lean is essentially a continuous improvement toolkit. But for me, it's much, much more than that. It's not really too much about the tools. It's really about people. So lean for me is effectively a business strategy to engage everybody in the workforce around the strategy, the vision, the mission of the company, the goals and objectives of the company and of the individual sites and functions, to get everybody rallied around the improvements that we need to make, and engaging people in the right kind of way with the right kind of support, tools and knowledge, the environment to make those people thrive and deliver the improvements. And for me, there's nothing more that I love than seeing people get rewarded and recognised and promoted based off the back of all the improvements that they've delivered and the impact that they've given back to the business. So for me, it's really a business strategy around engaging people to deliver fantastic results.
Brilliant, thank you. And Edwin, why did you move into a career as a lean practitioner?
I'm going to have to admit that lean is extremely addictive. And that's been one of my main reasons of why I moved my career into the lean area. The thing that makes it so addictive is that when you do it right, when you get into lean in the proper way, it actually is extremely engaging to see your improvements drive results. It is very rewarding to be working with a team with a can-do mentality, a team that is willing to put their shoulders under something and really drive it forward, and then see it through. Lean really works, and if you can improve your own work area, if you can improve the ease with which you do the tasks that you're hired to do, then that's extremely rewarding. So when I first experienced this approach to work and being able to improve your own area, that basically started off a little spark in my mind around, hey, I want to do more of this, and it grew into something bigger than I had ever imagined. When it comes to engagement, when it comes to the reward that lean brings, when you go through a lean operating model deployment, using the tools and techniques, but basically it's all around the spark that ignites within people, the energy with which they do their job, and it's a fantastic environment to be working in.
That's really, really nice to hear. And I think if I listen to your answer, Anthony, and then to yours, Edwin, you talked about the misconceptions and how really it's more about people than the toolkit, and then you've gone on to talk about sparking or igniting the spark, Edwin, to really get people into it. I think it's what we call building this army of problem solvers in our lean operating model. So if I take all of that together, Anthony, what does it mean to be a lean leader then to you? As one of our most senior lean leaders in the organization, what does that mean to you?
For me, it's about having a relentless focus on delivering improvement to the business. So, as I mentioned earlier, having that alignment to the vision and the mission, the strategy. It's a lot about engaging people in the right kind of way, understanding what keeps them awake at night, what kind of concerns do they have. So finding ways that we can engage with people for mutual benefit. Obviously, being a lean leader, it's a lot about training and coaching and development, particularly around the tools and the systems, but most importantly around the systems related to people, and then engaging and supporting them in the right way to make the improvements, whether that is through some simple Kaizen, just do it activities, whether that's helping them to deploy a Kaizen event, which is typically a 3 to 5 day focused improvement event around a particular set of goals, or it might be something more significant than that, and it might be a multi-week or a multi-month Six Sigma project, which is there to help us to solve our most significant challenges in the organization. So it's really about development, it's about people, it's about helping them to become successful using the tools and the systems and the opportunities that they've got to make a difference.
That's great, Anthony. I love the way you've described that. Really resonates. So given all of this, Edwin, there's a lot of companies that try to make lean work, and they have various levels of success. What would your advice be if you want to make lean work in your organization?
Well, obviously, it is very important to engage the people. That's a theme that we've talked about in this podcast for a couple of times now. I think that the way to engage people is to make it fun, and lean can absolutely be fun. We need to, as leaders, enable our people to succeed. One of the misconceptions around lean also is that people think it's easy, and in real life, it is very often not so easy. So you have to really put your energy into it. You have to really focus on choosing to do it. And it can be really stressful if you don't emphasize that, hey, we're winning this game. We have this vision of it becoming better. let's also have some fun together. So team up with people. Make sure it's not just about the KPI results or the emotional state that you get when things don't work out the first time. It is very much around team building. It's very much around the energy that you get with your first successes. Focus on why it makes people's life easier, and the results will come. Absolutely. If you do it in the right way, the results will absolutely improve. So my biggest advice, look for the short wins, make it fun, and really drive that energy in the team that you're working with.
Great. Fun. Fun, fun, fun. I heard that a few times. Brilliant. And I know personally you do that a lot. I've seen some of the events you facilitate, and there's normally a lot of fun in those. So it's great to hear you talk about that. And we don't talk about that enough, do we, in the workplace? So Anthony, I know you've had a lot of these, but give us one example, something you're really proud of, and it can be at any point in your career, a success story.
Yeah, I think the one that comes to mind for me is a single factory transformation. So I was working in a particular company that bought another company and decided that they wanted to fully integrate this new company into their own company. They put together an extremely young management team made up of high potentials from other factories within the same company, and really set about turning the site round. It was very dark. It was very dirty. It was very unsafe. There was very little flow organised around processes and functions. Productivity declining, morale not very good in the organisation, and we really felt that the operating system that the company was using at the time was the right thing to deploy as the vehicle to turn the site around. And obviously, I can't share before and after photographs or of the transformation, but I can certainly speak about the results. If I look at it from a productivity perspective, in one of the businesses, the productivity doubled. The floor space reduced by over 50%. The amount of inventory that we were carrying was reduced by greater than 70%, and going hand in hand with that is a significant reduction of value stream lead time. Customer delivery performance improved, and as a result of the delivery performance and the quality performance improving, we were able to secure new business as well. So there's a lot more to this, but I guess one of my career highlights was leading that transformation as the site lean deployment leader. I just look back on that time as probably one of the happiest moments of my career. This all happened within 2 years. Everything was modularized and cellularized. And if I go on Kaikaku experiences now to world-class companies, I can fully recognize the transformation that we did and how that measures up against some of the very best companies in the world. So, yeah, a very proud moment in my career.
Brilliant. I could feel the emotion coming through on that as well, Anthony. You could feel the pride as you talked about that, which is great to hear. And I know you're passionate about helping site lean deployment leaders, lean teams, and our lean experts to have that similar experience in the work that they're doing here in GK Aerospace, and we're seeing that already. So that's fantastic. So Edwin, how's practicing lean impacted you personally?
That's actually going very, very far. If you take a look at my personal life, there's many things that have been impacted by practicing lean in my professional career. And I can give you some very simple examples. If you talk about your family life, my children go to school and they have homework, and they feel overwhelmed. So what would your advice be to people on the shop floor when they feel overwhelmed? You start talking about how do you prioritize? You start talking about what methods can we use to structurally make sure that things get done in the right way, but also give you some freedom. Talk about leader standard work, for instance, as a tool. And funnily enough, I explained that to one of my children. He said, I want to try that. And he did. And for months in a row, he did his homework using leader standard work to plan for it. which was fantastic to see. There's other examples as well. Standardized work is something that obviously is required and needed and brings you stability in things that you do. I remember that I've trained as a diver, and unfortunately I had a diving accident. And I was cave diving and I hit the floor because something had punched my flotation device. And on top of that, the light of my lantern went out because it hit the floor as well. At that point in time, you're in real danger. And that standard work that I trained towards in this out of control situation kicked in. And there was no panic. I remember very well going through the steps, basically on muscle memory. I used my watch with a very small, tiny light in it to basically read my gauges and restabilize my situation. Was able to recover myself and found my way back up by simply going through the standard out of control action plan. I met up with my diving buddy, and in the end, we were able to communicate the stability of the situation in such a way that I was able to stay calm and do what is absolutely critical in that situation, not surface yet. When you're a diver, you're in danger of getting Caisson's disease, where gases dissolve into your blood and can actually boil your blood when you go up too fast. So it is necessary to stay below the surface for a while so your body can degas again. And we were able to finish the dive. And that to me is showing the power of real commitment to training your standard work and using it in critical situations. So it has impacted my personal life in many, many different ways. And these are two examples of maybe simple things, but that really made a huge difference also in my private experiences.
That's fascinating, and yeah, you've told me that story, and the long version of that story, and it's a phenomenal story where your training and your presence of mind and calmness that training brought into you helped to save your life, and that's a remarkable story. So thank you for sharing that with us, Edwin. So I guess we're going to kind of get round to closing off in a moment. I'd just like to lighten the mood a little, just a couple of fun facts about yourselves. So, Anthony, I know you've already shared kind of your hobbies and what you do, but is there a fun fact you could share with us about yourself?
Yeah, there's probably quite a few. So I hate coming second. I absolutely have to win at all costs in anything. Even if I'm not particularly interested, I have to be number one. That's one fun fact. I've visited over 85 countries in my life and plans to visit quite a few more. And I've also had an unsuccessful try at learning to fly light aircraft, which didn't end well, but ended safely at least. So a few fun facts there, Philip.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. And I'd never noticed the competitive nature of you before, Anthony, so thanks for sharing that with me.
I do tend to hide it well.
You do, absolutely. But yeah, you've also told me the story about your flying experiment, let's call it. And you did one thing which I recently watched the film Sully. And one thing they say is that, it's a successful landing if everybody walks away alive. So you actually successfully flew in a plane because you walked away. You're still here with us. So that's positive. What about yourself, Edwin? Any more fun facts you could share with us?
It's quite difficult for me to be in the spotlight. I am actually an introvert, which not many people know. And as an introvert, I was an event organizer and master of ceremonies for my previous company for 12 years in a row. So that was a very interesting situation. Another fun factor maybe around me is that one of my hobbies is stargazing. I have several different telescopes and found myself one day in the middle of the night watching Jupiter through probably my biggest telescope, a 20 centimeter telescope with a big mirror on it. And Jupiter hid behind the house of my neighbor. And I actually found myself stargazing through the window of his attic, where unfortunately the curtains were left open. I did have to then go over to my neighbor's house and explain to him that it was actually Jupiter that I was watching, and not anything that was happening at that on that attic that night. So every now and then, when I can't sleep, I lug these stargazing equipment tools out, and I can't help myself but every now and then chuckle about what happened that night.
Yeah, that is a fun story. I hope you and your neighbour are back on speaking terms.
Absolutely.
Great, that's good. So let's get ready to close this off now. And what I'd like to do to close off is ask you both about what your lean vision of the future is. And that it's deliberately a very open question because I'm very interested to hear both of your views on this. So let's start with you, Anthony.
Yeah, so there are a few things to mention here, I think. So obviously the first one is significant positive improvement trends within the business. If we're really working well on our ocean deployment, making those breakthroughs, setting ourselves up for the future years, and we're doing that well, we should be really positively impacting the performance of the business. That should result in good growth for us, good profitability, obviously keeping everybody safe and being that most trusted and sustainable partner in the sky, both from our perspective and the customer's perspective. So that's kind of like, the results and the company piece. But I think from a lean perspective, I can imagine a future without a central lean team in an organization. I could even imagine that the term lean wouldn't be used in the future because it's just the way that we work. I could imagine, having to have a very small handful of people in the organization. As we solve problems, we might learn, new techniques, new approaches that we'd want to standardize in the lean operating model. But for me, lean's just the way that we work, the way we engage people, the way that we improve. So, my future vision is continued success for the company, continuing to deliver great results, downsizing the size of the team over time, but perhaps maybe reutilizing those people and spending more time at the front end of the enterprise value stream. So at the moment, we're really only active in manufacturing. I see a great opportunity for us to be spending much more time with the technology teams, looking at how do we really, industrialize these new fantastic sustainable products that we're designing and developing. How do we really, create that lean value stream design from the beginning? How do we launch the new products with the 7 steps of standard work? So, perhaps when the factories, when the operations are much more lean, much more able to sustain that themselves, then maybe a refocus or a shift in the focus slightly to the front end. Then also perhaps connecting better with our suppliers, helping our suppliers to go through the same journey that we've been through, connecting better with those, particularly around logistics, helping them to improve quality, connecting better towards customers. So I think we've got to get our own house in order first, understand how this really works, and then start to engage more with our partners, our customers, our suppliers, and like I said, our team members that are developing the products of the future in our technology centres.
Excellent, thanks, Anthony. That's a great vision. Edwin, same question to you.
It's a very good answer that Anthony just gave. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to simply add a few things to that. When we talk about lean, we talk a lot about taking out waste. We talk a lot about having on-time delivery in full to what the customer requires as quality. If you extend that and you include the people portion of this, like I said, I'd like to have some more fun with it. I'd like it to not cost that much energy. So imagine a world without waste and a world that is full of meaningful activities that drive results. that basically takes away a lot of burden for the people and opens up this realm of opportunity. It drives energy. You can have fun. You can be creative, and that's the vision of the future that I'd like to see. That we have some solutions for those extremely big problems that we have of being overburdened and stressed, people experiencing burnouts even because of all the things that we have to do, want to do, and that don't go right first time. I would love to see that change. And doing more, no, achieving more without actually spending more hours with the same amount of people. It would be so great if that could be what we achieve in the next coming years.
Excellent, brilliant addition there, Edwin. I love what you've both said about this. Great. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure to have you both on the podcast. It was our first one, and I hope that it's received well. So all that goes for me to say is that we're going to continue doing these on a regular basis. The next one that we're going to do is actually going to get deeper into the people side that Anthony was talking about, and we're going to talk about the subject of BTFA, Believe, Think, Feel, Act, or the Bovis cycle, and how that links with PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, or the Shewhart cycle, to really ensure that we can engage our people in this change journey that we're on. So thank you very much. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Edwin. And just remember, if you're going to live lean, it's about changing what you do, not who you are. Thank you.